Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about collector burnout. When I first started this channel, there were a lot of videos showing up on my main page like why I got out of collecting and this is why I sold my collection. There were a lot of people expressing guilt, anxiety, or regret for wanting to stop collecting or just having to get rid of their collections due to the choices they made. I'm somebody who's been collecting for over 20 years. I have never been in this position. I've always been able to maintain my collecting habits with my lifestyle, and I really want to share my knowledge and my experience on this with other collectors. I will say before we start, I'm not in the business of telling my fellow adults how to live their lives, so you can take what you want from this, leave whatever you feel doesn't apply to you. I don't care what you do with this information. You do what's best for you. I am just going to give my opinions, and you can take it or leave it. Sound good? Okay. So I watched quite a few of these videos to just see exactly why people were giving up their hobbies and giving up their collections and getting out of it. And I made a list of the biggest reasons and we're just going to cover them. The first one is they're just not into that thing anymore, which I think is the most acceptable reason to get out of a hobby. As we grow, our tastes and priorities change. We move from one chapter of life to the next. It's okay to look at something that we used to be really into and say, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not into these anymore. I do think when this happens, some collectors on this site get really dramatic about it and they think they owe us all an explanation, where really you can just say, hey, I'm going to sell this collection. I'm not into it anymore. And usually we are all collectors at heart. So if we're getting rid of a collection, it's usually to just make room for a different collection. And that really is kind of the natural ebb and flow of collecting. Oh, I was into this as a teenager, but now I'm getting older and this isn't for me anymore, and now I'm collecting this. You don't have to offer a big explanation. You can just say, hey, I don't think I'm that person anymore. I'm not collecting this anymore. Maybe you'll keep some favorite pieces, but you don't have to keep your collection if you're not into it anymore. Don't let it drag you down. Go enjoy whatever you're collecting now. Reason number 2, I saw that people got out of collecting, and this I think is the main reason. This is the big one, which of course is financial reasons. I saw a pattern of collectors who said they got into the hobby during COVID. Everyone was isolated and bored. Collecting put you into a community where you could talk to people. A lot of collectors started channels so that they could connect, talk about their purchases, find a community. It was kind of sad that a lot of these collectors who started in this era were now just like 3 years later. Were getting out of the hobby and had to get rid of their collections. Some of them weren't even just deciding to get out of collecting, they had to get out of collecting because their purchases were putting them in debt. This seems to be more of an issue to new collectors than old, but it can really sneak up on all of us. We get into a new hobby, we get all excited, and we start buying up everything as fast as we can because we're having fun. There's so many cool, fun things to get. You get that hit of dopamine when you get your packages in, but you have started spending on something that you haven't been spending on before. And it's a very slippery slope. I've done it too. Whenever I get into something brand new, that's usually when I do the most spending. But you cannot just spend and spend and spend in perpetuity. It's not something that's going to last. You eventually have to calm down and reel it in and get a handle on the spending, or it is going to pull you under and you're going to find yourself in trouble. I saw several videos of collectors saying they were in debt. They weren't keeping an eye on their finances. They hadn't made any sort of budget. Some were even putting purchases on credit cards. And then they had to sell their whole collection because they blew all their money and now they couldn't pay for rent. It isn't a sustainable habit to purchase blindly without keeping an eye on your finances. At least not for most of us, unless you're so rich that it just doesn't matter what you buy. But for most of us, money is tight. Prices are going up on everything. Spending blindly is going to sour your collection for you. You are eventually going to look at it with either anxiety or with a grudge that these things put you in this horrible, stressful situation. The best way to stay out of this is to avoid it. Collecting is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You can't speed run your collection by throwing a ton of money at it right at the beginning and then just hoping the rest will sort yourself out. It's a hobby. It's something that you want to keep going in perpetuity. It's something that you want to collect for months and years from now. And in order to do that, you have to take steps to make sure it's a sustainable part of your life. I personally have been on both sides of the financial spectrum. Right now, I actually have a really good job. I can collect moderately comfortably and still be able to pay all my bills. I've also been extremely poor and still wanting to collect. I believe no matter what your financial situation is, you can still collect. It just means some of you are collecting slower and you have to be more thoughtful with your purchases. You absolutely have to have a budget. If you don't know how to make budgets, you should look into it. As an adult, you should budget, like hands down. Everybody, you should know what you're bringing in and you should know what is going out. And if you want to collect, you need to sit down and figure out what is viable for you to spend and what you cannot go past. There was a time where I was working and going to school, and the amount of money I was making, I absolutely could not spend a cent on collecting. I was bare minimum. If I wanted to collect, if I wanted to buy any fun nerd stuff, I had to do it by other means. So I started taking art commissions. If I wanted something, I could only spend my art commission money. If there was something more expensive, I had to do more work. I've seen people talk on their videos how they took out a second job to support their collecting. I don't see anything wrong with that. You either spend within your budget or you find a way to increase that budget. That's how life works. Today, the current collecting culture is very much, if I want it, I must have it now. There's lots of viral things out there. Everybody's going crazy about buying up whatever. Nobody saves for anything anymore. The idea of this thing is more expensive than I can afford with my current finances, I can't get it now, or I have to save, or I have to wait until the price goes down. People don't think like that anymore, and it's to your detriment. This isn't the way we should be thinking about our finances in any way, no matter what you're collecting, no matter what you're spending on. Just as adults in general, we have to be smart about our money. We have to make sure that the important things are taken care of first and hobbies are second. And it's really just for our own peace and then also for the enjoyment of our collections. I'm getting a little heavy now, but the bottom line is, if you want your collecting hobby to be sustainable and enjoyable, you have to spend within your means and you have to figure out what those means are. And you have to be okay with either not being able to afford something at the time, or sometimes you just have to say, I really like this and I really want it, but it's too much money. It's possibly something I'm never gonna buy. You know, that's where grails come from. Just recently in the past couple years, I've actually been able to buy a couple grails, and these are grails that I have wanted for like 10 years. And in the past, they were something where I did say to myself, these, I really, really want these, but they're too expensive. I cannot afford and I cannot live with spending that much money on this item. So I'm just gonna come to terms with the fact that I will not be able to own it. These items still exist now. They were still on eBay 10 years later. And then I was able to save up enough money where I was like, hey, you know what? I think I could actually buy this grail without hurting my finances. You don't have to buy the thing now. It's possible sometime down the road, it will come back to you. Being financially secure is more important than whatever thing you think you need. Financial knowledge and accountability, I really think, is the most important thing to maintain healthy collection habits and to keep yourself feeling good about your collection and enjoying collecting. The third reason that people either start getting anxiety about their collections or they start looking to getting out of collecting is space. Space is a problem for all of us. Some of us have the luxury of having a basement or a collection room, but even then, I mean, space is finite. If you have been accumulating and accumulating. Everything is going in, but nothing's coming out. Eventually, you're going to run out of space. I've seen collectors get to a point where either the size of the collection is giving them anxiety or they've just run out of room. And the size space ratio is different for everyone. I've seen collections that just looking at them on the screen gives me claustrophobia, but the owners seem fine with it at the time. The truth of collecting is everything you amass, it has to go somewhere. You are eventually going to fill up your display space. You are eventually going to fill up your storage. Where is stuff going to go if you are not paying attention to just how much space you have? And when you get to that point, is it more important to have the things or to have space to breathe and move? Once again, I am not about telling people how to live your lives, but it is my personal philosophy that you can't live a life of accumulation only. Things can't only go into your home. At some point, things have to come out, or you're getting into hoarder territory. I saw a video of a collector that it still sticks in my mind, where he was showing us just piles and piles of totes in his garage. And even he said he no longer had any idea what was even in the totes. If you are to that point where you are just buying and buying, and then just putting it in storage and you don't even know what you have anymore, maybe you need to start reconsidering your collecting practices. Just as you budget your money, I think you should also be budgeting your space. Your collection shouldn't be pushing you out of your own space, whatever size it is that you have. And if you don't have room for more things, you need to either slow down your buying or consider getting rid of things. Personally, what I like to do is I'll give a certain collection a certain amount of space. Like, this toy line needs to fit on this shelf or this area. And then if we start growing out of that area, what I'll do then is I'll either reevaluate my spending of that particular collection, or I will take a look at what kind of priority this particular thing has because I collect multiple things, but I'm always keeping an eye on my space. Like most of us, I have display space, and then I have some things that are in totes for storage, and I keep an eye on both those things. And once again, removing less loved items from your various collections to make room for other things, I consider part of collecting. We get rid of things to make room for other things. And it's also completely okay if you bought something and then you decide somewhere down the line you just don't like it. Sell it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. If space is something that is stressing you out, you can't let your collections take over your space. You need space to live. You need space to breathe. I don't think that you need to get out of collecting as a whole when you run out of space, but you do need to take stock of what's going on and see what you can do to fix it. And then lastly, we're just going to kind of carpet sweep any other issues and just kind of cover like a general unhappiness or anxiety from collecting or from your collection. Another video that's been sticking with me is I watched an interview of a man who had a very extensive collection of a vintage toy line. He had been collecting for about 12 years, and after all that, he himself stated that he had collected everything that he had set out to collect. To him, the collection was complete, and now he was getting rid of it because the joy for him had been the hunt. Owning the item was merely a byproduct from that hunt. Having the collection brought him no joy, only the accumulation. To anyone who is stressed, burned out by the spending, by the increasing prices, who is sick of the stress of trying to get those tricky releases or anything else, there has to be joy in having. Not just accumulating, but having. If you suddenly couldn't buy another item from your collection ever again, are you still able to find joy with what you have today? I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about, TikTok is ruining your hobby. Social media is ruining collecting. And I always think, is it really? Like, how can social media ruin something for you? You just turn it off and enjoy what you have. Like, yes, social media has really increased the collecting culture and the accumulation culture right now. It has raised prices and it's caused rarity in things, but it can't ruin a hobby for you. It can't cause you harm if you just turn it off and go enjoy the thing that you like. I really cannot stress this enough. You are still collecting if you are not actively buying. Okay, so I am a collector of Nemuneko. I have been collecting them for around 15 years. I consider myself a collector of them. They are these sleepy little kitty cat plushies. I have this one here. This is the small size. This is the first one I ever purchased. Probably actually over 15 years ago, I got this little guy, and he was the start of my collection. A year or two later, I bought this Nemuneko. This is the medium size, and he's got a little one on top. This was my second accumulation of my Nemuneko collection. And up here, these are my big Nemuneko. I only have 4 of them. I have been collecting them, like I said, for 15 years. I am a Nemuneko collector. These are all the Nemuneko I have. They take up a lot of space, so I am very selective in which ones I get. This one, my previous cat, my beloved Cheshire, was a gray tabby. He was a big chunky boy. I got this big chunky Nemuneko for him. This one up here is a folded eared cat. This cat reminds me of the cat from my favorite Ghibli movie, which is The Cat Returns. That's why I got him. This one has just fall vibes. I love fall. I love this vibe. I had to get this one. And then this dark blue one up here with the plaid ears also has like a little plaid heart on the butt. Purely aesthetics. I had to have this one when I saw it. I haven't bought one in a long time, and I still consider myself a Nemuneko collector. In fact, thinking of Nemuneko, I went back on eBay and just saw what was out there. Maybe I'll get another one, maybe I won't. But I greatly enjoy my collection. Just because I collect Nemuneko does not mean that I need every single Nemuneko that has ever been created. I will buy what I love. I will buy the ones that I intend to keep. And that's it. That's all you have to do to collect. That's all you have to do to enjoy what you collect. You don't have to get everything. You don't have to drown in stuff. You don't have to break your bank to collect. You just buy things that make you happy. And if they no longer make you happy, don't keep them. It's as simple as that. If you feel you cannot be happy until you have whatever that thing is, then it isn't the collection that's the problem. There's something else going on with you that you need to figure out, whether it's a shopping addiction, if you have something else that's going on with you. And that's going to bring me to my last point. Sometimes, even if your collection is causing you stress, it might not be the collection or the collecting that is the problem. There is a lot going on right now. It has been going on for a while. A lot of us are stressed out and worried anyway, and we've been letting that anxiety bleed into all facets of our lives. Your collections and your hobbies should be your decompression space, your place of zen. It should bring you happiness. You are allowed to just turn off all the noise and just enjoy something. We as human beings need it. We cannot live in a state of perpetual stress. If your collection is causing you stress without any real reason, maybe take some time to reset. Ask yourself if you are in fact still into that thing or if it has run its course. If you're still into it, go back to what made you love that thing in the first place. Enjoy the having and worry less about the getting. And next time, if you have some free time, just go hang out with your collection and let yourself enjoy it as it is.